Although we have two significant pieces of writing generally accepted as by St. Patrick, what is often called his Confession or Declaration and his letter to the soldiers of Coroticus, the exact dates of his life are unknown, though it is generally accepted that he lived and died in the 5th century. He was raised in Britain as a Christian, many think in modern-day Wales, and at the age of 16 he was captured by pirates who took him to Ireland, where he was a herdsman for 6 years. He later claimed that during this difficult time he received a message from God telling him to escape. Eventually he made it back to Britain. In time, trained for the priesthood, probably in Gaul, was ordained and returned to Ireland as a Christian missionary. At some point, he was ordained a bishop. He spent the remainder of his life in Ireland spreading the good news, making relations with local chieftains, ordaining clergy and instituting monks and nuns. And there are numerous legends about St. Patrick, such as that he used a shamrock to help explain the doctrine of the Trinity, and that he banished the snakes from Ireland. When I was a child growing up in West County Galway, we used to do the standard St. Patrick's Day things. As patron saint of Ireland, the feast was both a public holiday and a holy day of obligation. We used to wear St. Patrick's Day badges and or sprigs of shamrock on our lapels. And I remember that our small town had its small St. Patrick's Day parade with someone dressed up as St. Patrick himself arriving in a trailer drawn by either a truck or a tractor, I forget which. The story of St. Patrick's life that we were taught at school was nice and simple. The main biographical contours were as I've just indicated, and we were also taught the account of St. Patrick confronting the Druids on the hill of Tara, and so on. It is also clear that St. Patrick was not the first bishop in Ireland. That was Bishop Palladius. The impression I took from what I was taught was that Palladius's mission had largely died out, and when St. Patrick arrived, he was pretty much the only Christian around. It was as an adult, however, that I actually sat down and read St. Patrick's Confession, a fascinating and moving document well worth reading. It gave me quite a different picture from what I had been taught at school. We knew about some of St. Patrick's conflicts with the pagans and heathens, but I do not recall any mention at school of St. Patrick being at the receiving end of very sharp criticism from a number of fellow Christians. Some think that a major source of the tension was that St. Patrick's style of Christianity, formed in Gaul and in Britain, might have rankled with the local Christians with their own, as it were, Celtic practices and traditions. In any case, in the light of these complexities, the Confession of St. Patrick reads largely like an apologia, or explanation, or attempt at personal vindication. It is, however, a feature of the lives of many great saints that they have been at the receiving of very sharp criticism, even at attacks from within the Church. Think of, to name just a handful, in various degrees of violence and criticism, Saints Paul, Saints Cosmas and Damian, St. Maximus the Confessor, St. John of the Cross, St. John Henry Newman, the list goes on. And sometimes the ways in which the various disputes in the lives of these saints were conducted shows little sense of having been informed by belief in the saving mysteries of Christ. Surely one might think, okay, there might be genuine, honest disagreement in good faith, because life and reality are sometimes far from straightforward. But even so, oughtn't we engage in such disagreements in a collective spirit of care for what is good and true, and love of neighbour as for self, speaking the truth, but in love? In the light of Christian faith, perhaps even natural morality, there are boundaries that ought never to be crossed, but alas, sometimes are. To put it more simply, there might be substantial grounds for genuine disagreement, but surely Christian faith ought to make a big difference to how the disagreement is conducted and understood. Indeed, St. John of the Cross's writings on the dark night of the Spirit can be read as a sustained reflection on painful and harrowing events in his life, finding green shoots of salvation and divine love in the midst of harsh rancor and recrimination, in his case when his personal standing and reputation were at a very low point. William Blake famously wrote that we are put on earth for a little space, that we may learn to bear the beams of love. St. Patrick and the other saints I have mentioned did not give way to what must have been a strong temptation towards tit for tat, to replicate the forms of violence they received, but saw in such painful and unjust experiences a way of growing in conformity to Christ, growing in love of the God who is Father, Son, and Spirit. So what a wonderfully complex, in the best sense of that word, holy man St. Patrick in fact was. Not only the apostle to the Irish, as it were, but a powerful and moving example for us all, no matter where we hail from, of how to lead a Christian life in a sometimes complicated world. St. Patrick, pray for us.